And it probably comes as no surprise to you that most people have a very negative perception of what a budget really is. I think most people think of a budget as being restrictive, something that's going to tell you you can't spend any money or have any fun. Well, nothing could be further from the truth. So please let go of those old ideas that you have about budgets, because YNAB is a different way of budgeting. Now, let's start by talking about you. If you are here today, you're probably feeling money stress. Now, maybe your stress comes from not knowing whether or not you'll be able to pay a bill, or maybe you have no idea where your money is going. Well, Rule 1 solves this problem. It's called give every dollar a job. And when you are paid, just decide what you'll do with the money before you spend it. And this is incredibly powerful because you'll know where the money's going and you'll know whether or not you have enough for that next bill that's coming up. Now, not all your bills come in perfect little month-sized packages, right? Have you ever been blindsided by a large unexpected bill? You know what I'm talking about. A car repair, or maybe that once-a-year car registration bill. Well, Rule 2 to the rescue. Now, we call this embrace your true expenses. All those non-monthly expenses really are a part of your total financial picture. They are your true expenses. So each month, set some money aside for these non-monthly expenses, and this will get you off that financial roller coaster and give you tremendous peace of mind. So let's take a quick look at these first two rules in action, okay? Now, I've started a brand new budget here and added my checking account with a balance of $690. Now, this money is categorized as to be budgeted, and that will appear right at the top of my budget screen. Now, I can give these dollars a job by just asking, what does this money need to do before I get paid again? Now, I know I don't have enough to cover everything I need this month, so I need to prioritize. Yeah, I'll get paid again before I have to pay the rent bill and like my internet bill, actually several of my bills, but I know that electric bill is coming due before my next paycheck arrives. That is a priority. So I'm going to budget for that. It's going to be $120. Now, I also know I'm going to need some groceries and gas for the car before I get paid again. So we should budget something there as well. Let's put $250 in our groceries category, maybe $100 towards our transportation for gas. And that should cover my immediate obligations before my next paycheck arrives. But let's take a look at some of my true expenses. I know my car insurance is due in 6 months. And this is a bill I really want to get ready for. So I can create a target category balance by date goal for that. Yeah, I know it's going to be $600 when I have to pay that in August. So YNAB will do the math and let me know exactly how much to budget each month to get ready for that bill. That's a priority too. So I'm going to budget to that using the quick budget tool. Just budget right up to the goal target. Let's see, my car's running pretty good, but I'd like to start setting some money aside for repairs when they're needed. So let's put $50 towards our auto maintenance. And my sister's birthday is coming up. I want to be sure to buy her a gift, so I want something in my gifts category as well. Now, I know we're planning on going out for pizza this weekend, so I'd like something in my dining out category, and some walking around cash should be good too. So I'll put that in the fun money. And now I've given every dollar a job. And moving forward now, I can make my spending decisions by checking my budget instead of my account. And you're going to find that the mobile apps work great for this. Let's jump over to my phone so you can see what I mean. But first, let me ask you, has anyone ever made a spending decision by checking to see what you have in your account first? Type on over true if you've ever done that. I used to do that all the time. Rebecca says, yep, a lot of folks are winning. Absolutely. Yeah, Tara says true. Yeah, we used to check that account balance, right? But when I look at my account balance, can I actually see or tell how much I can spend on groceries? Well, no, I don't know. But if I look at the budget, I can clearly see that I have $250 available for groceries. I know I can buy groceries and still have enough money for that electric bill. So let's say we buy some groceries. We can enter that right on the spot. So I'm going to add that transaction. Say we spent $165 on groceries. We'll just say we went to the grocery store, keep it kind of generic, and we'll categorize that spending as groceries. That's the job that spending's doing when those dollars leave my budget. And now I can clearly see that I have $85 left for groceries. And all that stress of wondering if I still have enough for my other bills and priorities, it's gone. But once we have the budget set up, it is not unusual for something to go wrong. And maybe this has happened to you, where you created a budget, but you just can't seem to stick to it. And that leaves you feeling kind of like a failure. Well, let me introduce you to Rule 3, roll with the punches. Rule 3 acknowledges a really simple fact. You cannot see everything coming. It boils down to this. When your priorities change, it is okay to change your budget. Really, we mean it. After all, you are the best one to know whether a change needs to be made. Let's walk through it, okay? Let's say I'm out shopping for that gift for my sister. I check my budget probably on my phone, see what I've got available in my gifts category, and I can see I have $25 available for gifts. What if I find the perfect gift, but it actually costs more than that? It actually costs $42.50. Now I know she's going to love this. This really is a priority for me, so I buy that gift instead. Let's add that transaction. We'll say we spent $42.50 at the gift shop. We'll categorize that, of course, as gifts. And now my budget will let me know that I've overspent in that category by $17.50. Now I can cover that overspending easily with money from one of my other categories. Yeah, at the top of my list there, I've got my overspent category banner. Just tap on that and decide which category is less important than that gift I bought. And I think for me, it's probably the dining out dollars. Yeah, because pizza is not as important as making sure my sister gets a gift she likes. So my problem is solved. And it is okay to change your budget. But I do want to talk about one more thing, and that is the paycheck to paycheck cycle. Yeah, where money is leaving as soon as it arrives, where you're constantly timing paychecks to bills, where you get paid on Friday and then you're broke again on Monday. Well, the problem is the gap between when you earn money and when you spend it is too small. And this is the root cause of the paycheck to paycheck cycle. Your money isn't old enough. And to solve this problem, you need Rule 4. You need to age your money. Those first 3 rules will help you spend less than you earn. And that means money will sit around longer and longer before it's spent. And at some point, you'll find yourself with a budget that is completely funded for the current month. You'll still have some money that needs to be budgeted. You can assign those dollars to next month. So you'll have the security of knowing that some or all of next month's expenses are covered. And as those dollars budgeted in the future wait to do their jobs, they will age. And when you finally do spend those dollars, they will be older. To learn even more about aging your money, be sure to check out our workshop called Break the Paycheck to Paycheck Cycle, where we have an opportunity to talk a little bit more about that. But really, these rules work. Each time money arrives, simply enter the money, then budget those dollars, and then you can follow your plan as you track your spending. So YNAB's 4 rules give you total control over your money, and that helps you reach your goals and reduces your stress about money. Now, I'm sure you've got some questions about those rules. I know it's a different way of thinking about budgeting for a lot of folks. It was for me when I started. This is a great time to send any questions you might have on over. And as always, if you'd like to chat with me live on the mic about your question, just add yes to Mike when you send it my way. That's a great way for me to know that you can chat with me. Always happy to read your question right from the chat window, though, as well. But how are you feeling about budgeting now? Is that changing the way you're thinking about budgeting a little bit as we've gone through some of this? I know so many folks figure that the budget is restrictive and it's not going to let me do the things I want to do. But, it's quite the opposite. A budget really helps you achieve those goals. So I find it very empowering. Tara's got a great question, wondering when you're saving for those future goals, do those dollars just stay in your account or should I move them to a savings account? Actually, Tara, the budget doesn't care where the dollars are physically located. If you'd like to put them in a savings account, you certainly could. But now that the budget is keeping track of what those dollars need to do, you can just leave them in your checking account and clearly know exactly what they're supposed to be used for. Remember, we're checking our categories to guide our spending decisions. So when I buy groceries, I'm going to look at my groceries category. I'm not going to look at my car insurance or some of my other categories. Now, if you do have a savings account, I want to encourage you to include that as part of your financial plan. So let's say we've got a savings account. I'm going to go ahead and add that account here real quick so you can see what I mean. we'll make sure that we let YNAB know it's a savings account. Maybe I have $1,000 in that savings account. Now those savings dollars need a job too, right? What am I saving for? Well, I know I'm saving for my vacation. Let's put some of those dollars towards that. Well, just budget them to that category. I also am saving for emergencies. I don't have an emergency fund category yet, but I can sure add one. Just hover over the category group name, and we can add categories as needed. We want to make sure these categories reflect your life, your priorities, and I'm going to budget the rest of those dollars to my emergency fund category. So give those savings dollars specific savings jobs in your budget. Let the budget protect them. And really, a lot of those dollars, like your immediate obligation categories, a lot of your true expenses, you'll probably want to just keep in your checking account so that they're easily available. Does that make sense for you, Tara? I hope that helps. Sounds like that does help. Great. Oh, fantastic. Heather was wondering, how do I enter the transactions on the computer as opposed to the app? Let's walk through it. Okay, let's go buy let's see, what do we have? Let's buy some more groceries, shall we? We've still got $85 in our groceries category. We can buy a little bit more. So I'm going to go ahead and enter that transaction just in the account where it occurred. All right, so you can add that transaction. Let's go back to the grocery store. Categorize the spending as groceries, and maybe I forgot a few things, so I need to spend another $25 in groceries. And there we go. It's that simple. Now, by clicking on the activity, you'll see all those transactions and make that up. And you notice that everything I did on the mobile app synced right back to the web app. So it really doesn't matter what you use to access your budget. You'll still be right on top of things. So I hope that helps for you, Heather. Let's see how we're doing here. All right. Sanjeev was wondering, how do you get all these categories? Well, we start you out with some default categories, and we organize them kind of in order of how we'd like you to think about prioritizing. You know, those immediate obligations, those things you have to spend every month. Okay, that's the first consideration. And then as you're budgeting, we want you to be sure to save for those true expenses, the things that don't happen every month, but we want to prepare for by budgeting for them monthly. And then you can work your way on down that list. Now, you can start with that default category list, but I want to encourage you to add categories if it's a priority for you. Be sure to add and change this up so it reflects your life and your priorities, okay? So, and as you're getting started, you're probably going to come up with some new categories as you think about this, okay? So just feel free to add it. For example, I don't have a category for my phone bill. I'm going to go ahead and add one under my immediate obligations here. It's easy to do. And I can rearrange it. I can drag it around, maybe put it below my internet bill if I'd like. And that way I have a place to budget for everything that's important to me. Okay. A couple folks are wondering about credit cards. I know Maisie was wondering, are expenses entered differently if you use a credit card? And I know Tara was wondering about credit cards and interest as well. There's actually a lot we can talk about on credit cards, so much so that we do have a whole workshop dedicated to credit cards called Master Credit Cards with Your Budget. But let me give you the short version, so I'll hopefully get you started on the right foot, okay? If you've got a credit card, we want to be sure to add that account. So let's go ahead and say I've got a Visa card. I'm going to add, we'll just call it a Visa. Make sure YNAB knows it's a credit card. Yeah, just choose that as the account type. That's how we let YNAB know. And maybe on that credit card, I have an outstanding balance of, $1,000, okay? That's what I owe them right now. Now, I can decide to go ahead and pay off that balance over time. I might decide to budget for the entire balance as well, but YNAB will help me out by creating a goal for me if I choose this. I'd like to pay it off over time, maybe give myself a few months. See if we can do it by, say, September. And it'll calculate how much I need to budget each month then to make that happen. So I can see $142.90 a month is what it would take. Now, when I add that account, YNAB creates a special category for me called credit card payments. This is where I will keep track of what's available for the payment on that credit card. Yeah, if I use that card for any budgeted spending, YNAB's going to move the dollars from the spending category, say groceries or clothing, whatever, gas, give those dollars a new job and set them aside to be ready for the credit card payment. Very cool way to stay on top of these cards. Now, I will need to budget for that starting balance, and I'll do that right here in the budgeted column. My goal set up, that's what that alert means, is budget more there. My goal, I'll need to budget $142.86 when more money arrives, and that'll keep me up to speed and paying off that original balance. But hopefully that's enough to get you started on credit cards. Like I say, there's an awful lot we can talk about on credit cards. So Master Credit Cards with Your Budget is the name of the workshop, and we do have one coming up at 6:15 p.m. Eastern a little bit later today. So keep that in mind if you'd like. Okay, let me know if that helps. And you've always wondered, is it possible to update the actual spendings automatically from my checking account and card statement? As a matter of fact, you can use direct import. If you're working with a US or Canadian bank, that is where you would use your online access credentials to connect the account to YNAB. All right, and then when those transactions become available, you can simply import them, approve them and categorize them, and you're good to go. So it's an alternative to manually entering them. All right. Now, I like to manually enter my transactions. I find it keeps me really aware of my spending, and it's a little quicker. I don't have to wait for that transaction to clear the bank or credit card company. But you can do both if you'd like. Yeah, if you have already manually entered a transaction and also import that transaction, YNAB will match it up for you. You just approve the match and you're good to go. So you don't have to worry about duplications. Now, for those of you that are outside the US and Canada, you do have another option as well, and that's called file-based import, where I can actually download a file of transactions from my bank. Almost all banks support that. And then you can just bring that in and once again, enter those transactions without having to type them in. So hopefully that helps, give you some ideas. It's important to track your spending, but either way works great. And you know, it's so easy to enter my spending on the phone. I find I use that a lot for those out and about categories as well. And you've also sweet. Yeah, it is. It's a very cool feature. So how are we doing? Are we feeling good about this? Hopefully you're getting excited about budgeting, because budgeting really is the key to helping you reach your goals and take all that stress out of your life. It makes such a huge difference. So I want to see if we can touch on a couple more of your questions. We're nearing the end of our time together here, but I want to get to as many of these as I can. All right. And I know Caleb had asked about savings accounts. Walking through that explanation about savings accounts, did that answer your questions, Caleb? Hopefully that kind of cleared up what to do with those savings. The key there is just be sure to give those savings dollars specific savings jobs. And then you can let the budget protect those dollars, because remember, we're going to use those categories to guide our spending. Sanjeev was wondering, how did I get those two categories? Well, a lot of these categories were set up as default, Sanjeev, when we first created a brand new budget. But you can delete, you can add, you can edit these category names and create whatever you like. If you've just got rent, maybe no mortgage, we can go ahead and change that name, because as I mentioned before, we do want to make sure that this reflects your life and your priorities, okay? All right, well, I see we're almost out of time. I do want to encourage you to always reach out for help if you need it, okay? As you come up with questions, we've got great support folks that can answer any questions that you might have, okay? Especially if it's something specific about your budget. If I missed one of your questions today, I apologize, but definitely reach out for help, and we want to help you any way we can. Also, be sure to check out some of our other workshops. We've got a lot of different topics. You'll see them all listed on that classes page that I just sent on over, all right? Coming up shortly in about 10 minutes, we're going to talk about some nuts and bolts of getting your first budget set up. It's called Set Up Your Budget, or it's our next workshop. I've sent you the registration link, and I'd love to have you join me for that. We'll talk about goals, scheduled transactions, some ways of getting you started, and really getting in control over your budget and your money and your priorities as well. So for now, we are almost out of time, but thank you all so much for being here. I hope this has been helpful. I look forward to seeing you again in another workshop very soon. Thank you so much, folks.